Hello everyone, the 3.7 livestream has dropped and in it was revealed the sole new character of the patch, Kirara. She's a dendro 4-star sword user that has easily garnered a lot of fans for the obvious fact that she's a cat. Kirara even turns into this sort of like box cat running around. A lot of people have gone crazy for that. And you know, I get it, I do. Not gonna lie though, her feet kind of make me uncomfortable, but beyond this, while her kit was being shown, my AR60 brain was analyzing her kit on how good she'll be, and I must admit she's seeming to be a really good 4-star. Kirara has a lot of potential, but she does also have some alarming traits that make her problematic. In this video, I will share my pre-release analysis of her kit and explain my thoughts on her. With that said, let's get right into it and start off with her kit. Kirara's most noteworthy abilities is her skill and burst. Kirara's skill has two modes. First, a tap that launches a quick attack and that generates a shield, and then a hold which also creates a shield and turns Kirara into her box state, increasing her jump power as well as her movement and climbing speed. While in this state, Kirara can ram into enemies, dealing dendro damage. At the end of this state, Kirara will unleash a final slash attack and return to her normal form. For Kirara's elemental burst, she'll slam enemies with the delivery package. The package breaks into small dendro bombs. These bombs explode when enemies come into contact with them or automatically after some time. I think it's fair to say that Kirara has quite an odd kit. Her kit's a combination of characters we've already seen, mashed up together and turned dendro. With her shield, she's akin to Baizhu or other shielders. For her skill, she basically turns into Sayu. And finally, for her burst, it's essentially the same burst as Klee, but dendro. Though we've already seen these abilities in other units, the most important thing is how effective are these skills. After all, what good are these skills if they're weak or unusable? In answering this, for Kirara's shield, two big questions arise, that being how strong is her shield, and how does it fare against Baizhu's. Baizhu, of course, came out not long ago, and it's well known that his shield is unfortunately quite flimsy. His shield will break fairly often, and though his shield regenerates and he provides healing, his shield breaks nonetheless. In comparison to Kirara, unfortunately, we don't have her specific shield numbers just yet, but I'm betting her shield is much stronger than Baizhu's, and probably in the range of Layla's or Toma's shield. I think this is almost for certain just because Baizhu's shield is weak. With it being so weak, it's highly improbable for another shielder to share that same lack of shield strength or even have a weaker shield. With the bar of shield strength being so low because of Baizhu, it's highly improbable for the bar to be even lower. And it just doesn't make sense for Kirara to share this trait with Baizhu. If she were to, she'd basically be useless as she doesn't bring anything new or worthwhile. From a developer perspective, it makes no sense to release a 5-star and then release a 4-star right after that's basically the same as that 5-star and that's of the same element. So there's almost no chance this occurs. By the way, this may point Baizhu in a bad light and show that he's been power crept by Kirara, but I wouldn't at all say that he's been power crept. In my opinion, Baizhu is a good support that provides a lot of good things to his team, like his damage buff. Outside of shield strength, Baizhu has everything else over Kirara, so he's not going anywhere. So to sum up Kirara's shield, her shield is strong. This is her biggest pro and what sets her up to be very promising and unique, since she's currently the only dendro unit with a reliable shield. So in this aspect, she is good, but let's now talk about the problems I found with her. After looking over her kit and rolled, I found one huge problem with Kirara. It is her dendro application. From watching Kirara showcase multiple times, it's clear that her application is not a constant one, like the Traveler's or Baizhu's. Rather, it's initial dendro application that comes from her attacks, but nothing after. And to effectively execute reactions over the span of a battle, you need dendro application in the middle of your attacks, not just the beginning. For example, say you're performing Bloom with Ayato. You need enemies to be affected with dendro before his slashes and while he's attacking with his slashes. Yet Kirara doesn't do this. If you look at her skill, her tap skill is just a quick dendro attack. It's basically one hit of dendro and then a shield, but nothing else. When you switch off her, that's all the dendro she applies. Her shield doesn't apply dendro like Baizhu's, so her tap skill is just one hit of dendro, which will allow you to produce 2 cores, and for aggravate you can trigger it around 3 times, but nothing more. After this you would need to reapply dendro. This is the same case for her hold skill. In her hold skill, she turns into her box state and runs around the field. When she runs into enemies, she'll apply dendro to them like her tap skill. It's only one hit of dendro and nothing after you switch to a different character. Kirara can attack twice with dendro at the end of the special state, but again there needs to be application in the middle of another character's attacks, not just before. You can attack enemies with dendro as much as you want before your hydro or electro attacks, or in Kirara's case, you can run into enemies multiple times, but this really doesn't do anything. Now, a redeeming factor of this problem is her burst. When she initially hits an enemy with the package, this attack deals dendro damage and then leaves further bombs able to apply dendro while you're attacking an enemy with another character. So for instance, when you're fighting a boss, they'll often move around, so with the boss moving while the bombs are placed, say the boss moves to the left and causes half of the bombs to burst while you're attacking it, and then the boss moves another direction and causes the rest of the bombs to burst, this would apply enough dendro over a battle to where you can perform a good amount of reactions reliably. So with this, it's very likely that Kirara is optimally played when you use her skill and burst every rotation. This in paper should work well for single target enemies, however not for multiple enemies. If you're fighting a mob of enemies as shown in the demo, because there's multiple enemies, the bombs will be detonated pretty quickly. All is needed is for enemies to run on the bombs and they're gone. The bombs won't really be able to stay for a long or good amount of time and periodically apply dendro. A saving aspect of this burst would be when the bombs explode, the explosion radius would be big enough to affect all or multiple enemies. This would act as a form of repeated application since enemies would be getting hit with dendro when a bomb explodes. But if you look at the demo, the bomb's explosion radius is small. When one villager runs to a bomb, only they are affected. For multiple enemies to be affected at once, they would have to be very close to each other. Because of this, I'd say Kirara will be great when fighting bosses, but when it comes to multiple enemies at once, I don't think that she'll be that good, and she'll probably struggle. Now you can solve this by playing another dendro unit alongside Kirara to make up for her lack of dendro application, but at this point it begs the question, if Kirara isn't the one applying enough dendro, but another unit is doing what Kirara should be doing, why use a dendro shielder? Why use Kirara instead of Zhongli or another shielder you already have built? If you need to use another dendro to play Kirara, and that dendro unit is doing the main chunk of dendro application while Kirara is doing a very small amount, what's the point of playing Kirara? Now to circle back to my issues with Kirara's kit to what I first mentioned, I'm not at all saying that Kirara is bad or that she's useless. Don't get me wrong, Kirara is looking to be quite a good 4-star, though the issues I've mentioned can be annoying or something you have to work around. She's by no means unplayable or a waste. She seems to be really good when it comes to being played in the outer world, and she's great for exploration thanks to her movement speed and ability to run up walls. With her shield and burst, she looks really useful when it comes to fighting bosses, but outside of bosses, she will probably struggle as a sole dendro support. Because of her shield, she'll still be very useful against multiple enemies, but for reactions, she'll likely need the help of another dendro unit. We don't know her constellations, perhaps her constellations will help her with this, but this is how she currently stands. And with that, these are my pre-release thoughts on Kirara. I'd love to know, what are your thoughts on her? Do you agree with my assessment of her kit? And what do you like best about her? Is it her strong dendro shield or is it her cat traits? Please let me know this in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching, take care, and thank you all for watching once again.